I'm Leah Lane, an award-winning travel writer and author of Places I Remember, Tales, Truths, Delights from 100 Countries. On this podcast, we share conversations with travelers about fascinating destinations and memorable experiences around the world. In this episode, we're talking about what I consider perhaps the most naturally beautiful island in the Caribbean. When you say Dominica, many people think of the Dominican Republic, but Dominica is its own small island country. It's often called the nature island of the Caribbean because of its unspoiled, lush environment. Dominica is filled with flowers and surrounded by volcanic peaks and clear waters, teeming with tropical fish. And because there are no casinos or big shows, it's been pretty much undiscovered. I visited Dominica twice. The first time on a day trip off a small ship cruise, which gave me a glimpse of its beauty. The second time, I stayed about a week, and I still remember the natural pleasures and the endless adventures. Our guests are two men who can guide us around their lovely island. Colin Piper is CEO of Discover Dominica Tourism Authority, and Aziz Roberts is a bartender at Cabritz Resort Kempinski, who's a great representative of the hospitality of the Dominicans. So let's start with geography. Where exactly is Dominica?
Well, Dominica is kind of in the middle of the chain of islands when you consider the Caribbean. For point of reference, most people start up in Puerto Rico and come all the way down to Trinidad. So we're kind of smack dab in the middle between the two French overseas departments of Guadeloupe to the north and Martinique to the south. And for a little more reference, we're two islands north of St. Lucia.
Okay, two islands down. Okay, turn right at St. Lucia. There are no casinos. The main roads are narrow. There's limited nightlife and black volcanic beaches, which don't appeal to some who are looking for sun and fun. But wow, if you like unspoiled nature and an end-of-the-road feeling, this is the place. How much of the island remains natural?
Well, we've got about 60% of the island that's rainforest. About 40% of the island is almost a national park. We truly embody the moniker of the nature island of the Caribbean, the plentiful naturalness, so to speak, that we have on the island.
When you drive along the narrow roads, you feel like you're in the rainforest most of the time. It's just all around you.
We say when you come in from the airport, it's like an oxygen tank, huh?
It is.
You know, with all the greenery that's around you and the nature that's around you.
Yes, and the driver was so nice. It was a narrow 2-lane road, which was charming and turning. We went up north and he said, "Do you get nauseous when you drive?" I said, "I didn't think so." So he went just in case and got some lemongrass from the side of the road and gave it to me. And it was the nicest way to come into a place. You felt immediately like you were in a beautiful place. Now, tell us a bit about the history of Dominica.
As is typical with a lot of the other Caribbean islands, you know, the Arawaks, and then the Caribbeans now on Dominica now go by the name of the Kalinago Indians. And we have the largest population of those indigenous people still remaining of any of the islands in the Caribbean. And then the rediscovery, as we say it, by Christopher Columbus.
Wasn't it the last island that he found?
Yeah, that's what I note. Yes. Affectionately, they also say that if he were to come back now, it's the one island that he would remember because of the ruggedness of Dominica. You had colonization. We switched hands 4 times between the English and the French. You have a history of enslaved people as well. And that kind of in a nutshell between the Kalinago, between the enslaved people who then were maroons on the island, the switch between the French and the English has given Dominica its very colorful history and its kind of Creole patrimony as well, which you see in the food, you see in the drink, you see in the clothing, you see in the way we speak.
Now, Dominica took a walloping blow from Hurricane Maria in 2017. It was the worst recorded storm ever to hit the island, I read. So where's the recovery now?
First of all, I'll say psychologically, we're 100% recovered. There may be 1 or 2 folks who still have some effects, but I think as a people and as a nation, rather, we are more concerned about the future than looking back at the past. And so we understand the whole issue of resiliency and what it takes. And if you look back to Dominica's history, you'll know that from time immemorial, you know, we've been a people that have been dealing with shocks and natural disasters. And so it's in our DNA. So as a people, we're moving forward, and that's the most important thing. And a great help to that was nature coming back. When you saw the trees coming back with leaves and getting their foliage and the birds chirping, the people had no choice but to come back as well. So in terms of housing and those things and buildings and those things, we're certainly back.
Well, I know I came in on a nonstop flight on American Airlines. It was 3 hours from Miami, and that's a big, big improvement. So I heard there's a new airport in the works. Is that true?
Correct. Yes, we don't want to say an international airport because you came in from Miami. So we already have one, but we're working on a longer runway, hopefully about 9,000 feet. And we're hoping that by 2026 or soon thereafter, that we will have that available and we will be able to offer this gem beyond compare to come and experience as part of their leisure vacation.
Right. If you build it, they will come. I guarantee you.
That's the saying, and that's wonderful.
Oh, really?
Believe it. Yes.
I agree. So Dominica has the highest concentration of volcanoes in the world. Let's discuss some of the island's pleasures. Tell us about the Boiling Lake.
So the Boiling Lake is the largest boiling lake of its kind in the Western Hemisphere. It's the second largest in the world.
I think New Zealand is first because I think I was there, right?
The frying pan in New Zealand. To get to the Boiling Lake in Dominica is about a 3 to 4 hour hike each way. So it's a vision quest for a lot of people who come to Dominica.
For someone with bucket list for a fit person.
Exactly. And so along the way, you can dip in some of the hot sulfur spas. You go through the Valley of Desolation, which gives you a geology lesson on a number of minerals. So the Boiling Lake is for a lot of people who come, and the young and the old, just as long as you're physically fit, can do it.
Now, I heard there's a tram perhaps being built. Is that correct? Or was that just what when is that?
It's just beginning in terms of the planning phases. So it'll probably be another couple of years before it's built. However, it's to give, those who are not able-bodied the opportunity to see the lake as well.
Well, I know the park, besides the 9 volcanoes, it also has sulfur vents, and it has a Trafalgar Falls, which is an easier hike than Boiling Lake. And is that the falls where you swim into it, or is there another one that you do?
No, the one that you swim into is called T2 Gorge, but Trafalgar Falls are the Papa and Mama Falls in Dominica, and so a lot of people come, depending on the days and the forestry division say sometimes you're able to walk down amongst the rocks and partake both in warm and cold bathing pools as part of the Trafalgar Falls. But the one that you were talking about is T2 Gorge. It's an opening in the rocks where you can swim through, and about 100, 200 feet up, you actually see a nice waterfall in there. So very cool waters, but very refreshing.
Very lovely. And from there, you can see Guadeloupe and Martinique if it's a good day, right? You can see all the way over there from the top.
On certain places, yes, especially Fort Shirley, where we're closer to Guadeloupe, you can see that. And then in the south, in Scott's Head, where we're closer to Martinique, on a clear day, you can see them.
I went to Fort Shirley. That is not a difficult hike. And it's in a lovely long distance hiking trail that's 114 miles long. I'm going to not say it probably correctly. Waitukabuli, is that close?
Waitukabuli, yes. That's the name given to Dominica by the indigenous people.
It means amazing.
Tall is her body. Yes.
Tall is her body, and long is the trail because it goes all the way through the island.
That's right. Yeah, 114 miles, divided into 14 segments. Some of them geology lessons, some are cultural lessons, some are historical lessons. And they go from the southern tip of the island to the northern tip in 14 segments. If you do it all continuously, probably take about 7 to 10 days. But it all depends on your level of fitness, which one you want to do, and which part of the island you want to traverse. The western side is a little more sedate. The eastern side is a little more rugged.
Is that the one with the vertical trail?
We call it the wild side.
Yeah, there's mangrove roots, and you go, I have not done that, but I've seen people do it. And it sounds like for hikers, it's really different. You don't get that very many places, I would think.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting about Dominica is you see a lot of different vegetation because of the volcanoes, because of the hills, the mountains. that about 60% of our land is in rainforest. So there's a lot of different things that you get to see and experience. We've got over 300 miles of hiking trails. And so you can go on a walkabout and not run into anyone, which is it's just wonderful.
It's
if
wonderful.
You want to be one with nature.
Yeah. And people are horseback riding, they're bird watching, they're turtle watching. They don't run out of choices. The motto I read is Après bonde c'est la terre, which means after God, the earth, which gives you an idea of the importance of biodiversity for this tiny island, for your tiny island nation. Now, Dominica is known for its mountains, its rainforests, its waterfalls, but it also has a number of beaches and picturesque coastal formations, many of them in the north of the island. Tell us about some of the popular beaches.
Yeah, so what you find in Dominica, which by the way has more of its circumference in beaches than the island of Nevis, which is known for its beaches. And what you find in Dominica is a number of private beaches, private coves, private keys, those sorts of things. So you're likely to go to a beach in Dominica and be the only one there. And how wonderful is that? And it all depends on what you want. If you start in the south or in the east, you're likely to see a black sandy beach or a rocky beach, which is part of the volcanic activity. And if you go to the northeast of the island, you're likely to see a more coral, silver sand beach like you would see elsewhere. You can take your pick. The one thing we can guarantee is you're not going to be overcrowded by people on the beaches, which is just wonderful. So
no, now is the time to go because it is still a little bit undiscovered. That's what I'm telling everyone. Go now before the planes come in more regularly and before the trams go up to the boiling lake. Now we'll stay with water a little bit. Check out the nearby sulfur pools. Where are they?
So we have a number of monikers, and one of them is a natural spa capital of the Caribbean. And specifically, we speak to the village of Waton, which is in the Roseau Valley. And it has a number of emissions from the activity. And we have about 4 entities that have these sulfur pools or spas, which are said to have healing powers. And so after you've done a long walk or you've done some sort of activity in Dominica, then that's the ideal place to go and to soak your body and let that penetrate your skin, let it soothe your aching muscles.
Well, I went on the Indian River. You've got lots of rivers, but the Indian River is the most popular, I think. There wasn't many people on it. It's not like it's crowded, but it was a very nice ride through jungly terrain, and there were lots of birds and iguanas and crabs. And I do recommend that, even if you don't want to do some of the harder things. It's lovely to get on the raft and just be paddled along with somebody doing it for you.
So, yes, the Indian River is a wonderful touring activity done by a number of the residents in the Portsmouth area, where you go up through the mangroves and you're able to see some of the wildlife, and they give you great interpretation along the way, explaining to you what you're looking at, what you're seeing, including the witch's hut from the Pirates of the Caribbean, which is there on the Indian River. And then the renowned Bush Bar, where they serve you one of their dynamite drinks, which we might talk about later, but very high alcoholic content.
Very
and so
nice.
It's probably good that you don't have to do swimming or rowing in that river.
Exactly.
Someone else does that for you.
Sit, sit and enjoy.
Yeah.
So some of the nicest, healthiest reefs I've seen in a long while were around the coast, because again, I don't think they're overrun with tourists yet. So the one snorkeling adventure that everybody talks about is Champagne Beach. Tell us about Champagne snorkeling.
Yeah. And before I get there, the national parks extend into the sea. And so one of the reasons why you see some of the healthiest reefs is because we have marine reserve parks, one to the north in the Cabarets and one to the south in Soufriere, Scott's Head. Champagne Reef is within the Soufriere, Scott's Head Marine Reserve Park, or abutting it. But what's interesting about that reef is that the volcanic emissions come up from the seabed and create these bubbles, and thus the name Champagne. You feel like you're snorkeling in a glass of champagne. And it's a very unique activity. Not very many places in the world can you experience that. And so we're really pleased to be able to provide that to people when they visit Dominica.
Oh, absolutely. That brings them in. That'll bring them, that and the boiling lake. Those are 2 interesting things you don't see very often in this world. So another thing that you might be surprised of when you get there is there are sperm whales that live year round. They don't want to leave. They're pretty smart. They don't go anywhere else.
You're
And so
right.
you're pretty sure to see them.
Exactly. So the sightings of sperm whales in Dominica are in the 90% range. And so we're called the whale watching capital of the Caribbean. And you're right, that's because we have a resident population of sperm whales owing to the depth of the channel between or just off Dominica. And we also get visited. We also have a migrant population of whales that come, especially at birthing time. And that's because with the volcanic activity, the warmth of the water at the depths that they need to birth is ideal. And so they come for that. So
what month?
Typically during the winter months, but I don't presume to know when the whales want to give birth. I just know that when they want to give birth, they come to Dominica because of what we offer. But definitely during the winter months, the resident population are here and more active, but all year through, probably from 85% sightings. So it's a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and there are lots of dolphins too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Lovely.
A lot of species.
Lovely.
And scuba diving is another very important activity because of the reefs that we have and because of the microlife that we have and because of the topology below the water. The Dominica is top 5 in terms of scuba diving.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I know around Scott's Head Pinnacle is the place I heard, but I didn't know.
Correct.
I just knew that snorkeling was champagne, so I stopped there.
Yeah. Snorkeling is great, but scuba diving is a very popular activity,
absolutely.
especially in the South.
So Aziz, tell us about the capital city, Roseau, a little bit.
So Roseau is our main capital. We have Roseau and Portsmouth, but Roseau is the main capital. When in Roseau, you're actually seeing everything that Dominica really has to offer. The shops, the buildings from the long time ago.
They're timbered and colorful. I noticed they're very
colorful.
Pretty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Even the modernized building that we're having right now, like the financial center, we are building some new modernized buildings in Roseau right now. Even the streets, they're designed in block form. So Roseau is very nice. Even going towards by the bayfront and everything, where the cruise ship berth is very beautiful.
That's where you get off with the cruise ships, right? Or both Portsmouth and Roseau? Or just
Roseau. Yeah.
Now I know Portsmouth is a city near you, and that's the second biggest city. So I went to the very charming Saturday market there. The people were dressed in plaid Madras outfits. Why did they wear that?
Okay, so maybe the time you were there, it was in the Creole season.
Yes.
So everyone is dressed in the Creole outfit. Yeah.
Okay.
So you will find a lot of the nice fruits and like papaya, coconut, bananas, breadfruits, and all that stuff. You might find it there, but they will give you a nice display of the items.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
So this is also the culture passed on to the market when you're doing it.
There's a very good beach there, Purple Turtle Beach.
Purple Turtle.
Lovely
Purple Turtle
beach.
is a very nice beach, yes. So the Purple Turtle is very nice and smooth. The waterbed that's coming up is not that rough. So it's nice. You can walk in very easily. If you want to go and just relax on the beach, cover yourself in the sun and take a massage, that can be done. So
that sounds good.
That's one of our nice beach in Dominica also, Purple Turtle.
Well, we mentioned the Creole Festival, so let's mention a few other ones. I know Carnival is a big festival. Tell us about what happens there.
Well, Carnival time, we have a lot of people coming down to Dominica to actually take part of this festival. So this festival is also another culture, like they will sing Calypso. Calypso, they go with the different competition, different monarchs and stuff like that. They will perform like on a Wednesday, they will have like Saddam tents and stuff like that, Saturday, and they will go until they elect Saddam King. So he would be the king for the road march or the king that would be on the streets of the Carnival Day.
Well, I know there's also a jazz festival in May and a film festival in March. So there's lots of them all through the year to add to the mix. You have lots going on there. Let's talk a little bit about the accommodations, because I know there are lots of eco-sensitive lodgings and wellness retreats because such a beautiful place attracts people who are interested in those kinds of things. What are a couple of the ones you recommend, either of you? Which are some names we would want to think about? How about Rosalie Bay?
Well, Rosalie Bay is on the southeast of Dominica. So Rosalie is a very nice place to visit. The resort is not that big, but it's eco-friendly. The trees, everything is natural. You got, when there is in season, you got the nesting of the turtles and all that stuff being done at Rosalie Bay. Rosalie Bay is close to the river that's coming down from, I would say, the Boiling Lake area. And then it's also about 21 acres of land. Rosalie Bay, they are very unique and they give that great service also.
Yeah, there are many. As I said, there, if you look it up, you can find dozens of these wonderful eco-sensitive lodgings.
Yeah.
Now, you are in a very luxurious place, Cabritz.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about where you are.
Well, at Kempinski, we go a little bit more to the luxurious side. We offer 151 rooms at Kempinski. And also where it is located, it's located close by the sea. So you have that nice scenery, that nice view. And also the pools, we have pools that are connected to the rooms. We got pools that close by the pool bar area. It's just a nice place to visit. We got some nice cabanas if you want to relax, and then if you want to do a massage, we got a nice spa. We got I would have to say one of the best spa.
Yeah, so you're the luxury end, and there are several others that I know are excellent. People just have to look them up, but they're wonderful.
And Kempinski's on the northern side, where they benefit from the silver sand beaches. To the south and southwest, we have two interesting properties as well. We have Jungle Bay Resort and Spa, which is a very wellness and adventure-oriented property, edible landscape. So a lot of what you eat is actually grown on property. They have 14 spas, they have 89 rooms, and so very wholesome cuisine as well. And most recently is Coulibree Ridge, which is a 14-room eco-luxury and very sustainable property that's helping to put Dominica on the map because of the fact that it's almost 100%, I think it's 100% off the grid in terms of electricity and energy, and runs its own has its own cisterns for rainwater, and just very sustainable oriented in terms of its ethos. So those are a couple of the additional properties besides the smaller properties, whether they're cottages, villas, or mountain lodges that Dominica has in terms of variety of places to stay.
Excellent. I know the local restaurants are very charming. I like the names of them, the Chat and Dine or Keeping It Real. These are wonderful names. They tell you how warm it is and the people are friendly and the food is good. What are some of the specialties of Dominica? What would you say? Either of you.
First off, Dominica offers, whether it's roadside cuisine to local and regional cuisine to international cuisine at different places. And so some of those that you've mentioned, for example, Keeping It Real has a lot of seafood and lobster. But what you find in Dominica is that, the national dish is callaloo, which is a soup made with a lot of ground provisions and meats of various kinds, whether it's poultry or smoked chicken or pork. But what you'll find also is the Creole flavored foods, which again comes from our history of having switched hands between the French and the English. But for sure, there's the opportunity for wholesome cuisine because we grow a lot of what we eat in terms of provisions and seasonings.
Well, let me ask you about mountain chicken. I know what that is. It's not a chicken. Anyone want to tell me what do you eat? Do you eat the mountain chicken?
Correct. Go ahead, Aziz.
I have heard about it, but I have never.
Really? Okay. I've heard about it too.
And once upon a time, it was the national dish of Dominica.
We should say what it is.
Yes, it's actually frog legs, right?
Well, I've had frog legs in France.
Many people have had that, and it was the national dish of Dominica.
We've moved on.
We've moved on.
To codfish or something. Yes. Okay.
To callaloo.
Now, Aziz, just tell me about the famous knock you down rum punch. You have to explain what's in there. That's all over Dominica.
The knock you down rum punch, well, we have different varieties. Also, we make it here at Kempinski. What we try to do with our rum punch, we use the local rum from Dominica. We can get it mainly from Belfast or what's his name? Makushri rum. So what we normally do, we infuse the rum with the different herbs. So we can remove that impurity of the herbs, and then infuse it to give you that nice flavor.
I had some, and I think I had one with garlic. It was infused with garlic. Is that was different?
Yes.
I like the pineapple cinnamon a little better, but it was different.
Yes. So the Creole Sunset is a cocktail that we have created with the fruity rum. So we use pineapple, watermelon, a little bit of passion fruit seeds in there, and we use the local rum. Then we use some fresh pineapple juice, a little bit of touch of bitters, lime.
Well, that's reason enough to come to Dominica.
Yes.
And I can see why you name it after the sunsets, because they are beautiful. I will add that. Yes. Well, it sounds delicious in every way, but we have to end this with what we normally do. The name of the podcast is Places I Remember. So would you both be so kind as to share a favorite memory or story of your beautiful island country? Colin, do you want to start?
Sure. Well, one of my favorites is Middleham Falls, which is a waterfall, one of the many waterfalls on Dominica. And I normally say to people, it's about a 45-minute hike up and back. And you hike up, and to it, you traverse down amongst the rocks and you get into the water. You scream like a little kid because it's so cold. But after a minute, you don't want to get out. And then when you do get out and you walk the 45 minutes back, you hardly sweat because your body has just been cooled down so wonderfully. And so I always tell people about that story because it just amazed me when it happened to me. And so I want everybody to experience that.
Yeah, and I think it represents your island, that beautiful nature that can cool you off and make you feel so good.
Yeah.
Aziz, how about you? I know you have a story about the boiling lake, so tell us about that one.
Okay, so when I was at the age of 8, I did that hike with my parents and other colleagues. We were hiking from the village of Grandfort. So from Grandfort, you can get to Loda. So you had to cross a few rivers going through that hike. It was very tough hike, but it's worth it. So while you're going through the mountains, you're seeing different trees, different stuff, like cocoa and different trees We were also seeing like livestock, like wild animals, like the agoutis and the manicous, and hearing some birds in the trees. So while you're walking through, you're experiencing a lot of, I would say, good stuff that Dominica has to offer. It took us about 1 hour and 30 minutes to go up from that side. And then we had to take a vehicle to come back to the next side. But it was a very nice hike. I really enjoyed it.
Only took you an hour and a half? I heard it takes 6 to 8 hours. Did you just do part of it?
No, from Grandfort, that's on the next side of the island, on the southeast, going up the hill. Yeah, it can take you about an hour and a half to 2 hours on the hike, yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm sure that's a memory when you're 8 that you're not going to forget. It must have been, very hard.
Well, I did it, and I said that I want to do it again. I remember.
And did you?
Exactly.
Did you do it again? Okay.
No, I've not done it, but I want to do it again.
Well, I'm waiting for the tram, and I will be back for that, for sure. Well, thank you so much for telling us about your beautiful island. Colin Piper and Aziz Roberts, your island country has so many natural pleasures. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to our award-winning podcast. We've recorded over 100 episodes of Places I Remember, so follow us on any podcast app. And new monthly episodes are also on YouTube with gorgeous video. My book, Places I Remember, is available in print and Kindle, and I read the audio version. Follow my travel writing at Forbes.com. Contact me at the links in the show notes or on my website, placesirememberlealane.com, and keep making your own travel memories.